Shalom, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai. All praise to the Heavenly Father, whose name is Yahweh, in the name of His Son, which is Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of the nation of Israel, better known as the Great Millstone. Shalom, salutations to the elect, the 1/3, the 144,000, and death to 2/3. I have Proverbs, the 25th chapter, and I want to give focus to verse 9 in particular. Debate thy cause with thy neighbor himself, and discover not a secret to another. So, brothers read this a lot. We read this a lot. People, men, guys, we read this a lot, but I think the latter half sometimes gets lost and is applied where it's only fitting for some, and it's not widely explored. Discover not a secret to another. So there's an unwritten rule in the hood, right? Where you don't snitch, right? But if you go, now these same people in the hood, if they're talking amongst themselves and one of the guys tells another guys, hey man, so and so, whoop, right? Tells them something. It should be obvious that that's like between them. You know what I'm saying? It should be obvious. It's just you two there. It should be obvious. It's between them. But what'll end up happening is this guy will go and say, hey man, this guy, he's talking foul about you. He's talking about you behind your back. Is that not snitching? Did he just not snitch? You see what I'm saying? What should have happened was the guy should have been like, hey, you know what, man? I hear you, bro, but you need to go and talk to him. Like, you're getting it off your chest. Maybe you got to get your thoughts together. A little psychiatry. Kind of venting to, one guy's venting to the other as a form of psychiatry. And just to kind of, get his thoughts and his words together. That's a normal human action. The other guy needs to not say shit to anyone else. And I seen it happen. In this camp also. One brother might be talking to another brother, and then rather than a brother giving him advice like, hey bro, go and talk to him, what'll end up happening is that brother will just go and straight tell that brother everything. And then it's like, damn, the brother wasn't sure if he wanted to deal with it. It's like, you're not supposed to. Someone shouldn't have to tell you, hey bro, I'm telling this to you in confidence. Meaning, with faith, with spirit, that you don't say nothing. You shouldn't have to be that god dang literal, man. Jake needs to grow the hell up. And as big as their balls are, their ears should be even bigger, man. Their brain, their pineal gland, their spirit, their mind, and their heart should be 10 times bigger than that. And their mouth should be the smallest thing on their body, man. But a lot of times it's the other way around. That mouth is a volcano. And the scriptures tell you that, man. That with the tongue, with the mouth, you can either make a fire worse, or by one of the least respectable things, you can make the fire least, meaning you spit on it. You know, that's because it's disrespectful to spit on somebody, you know? You could make the whole problem go away by just spitting at it. So it shouldn't have to be told to you when you're talking to a brother. You should be able to know and see, that's the thing. A level of understanding is something that you have to build up to. And it's one of the hardest things to work out because it requires you to put yourself last. It requires you to put yourself in a servitude position, which, you know, our people naturally are not used to doing that. Unless it's for a paycheck and unless it's for this devil, you know, because when it comes to our own, as the prophecies fit, our eyes are evil to our neighbor. You see? So here it is, man. You got this so-called, and you know, a situation that happened, you know, with that Amber Guyver or whatever the hell her name is, that Edomite cop, that trash, that piece of white trash that killed the Jake in his own apartment. You had his neighbor testify. Now you had this whole movement of cops not killing so-called black people and Black Lives Matter, this and that, and cops need to get what they deserve. So this guy did, you know, an honest and just thing and say, hey, look, I heard this man's cries as he was being murdered, and asking her, why is she killing him? Why are you shooting me? Why'd you shoot me? And you had some dumbass fools go and kill this man. Now, I don't know these individuals that killed them, and I don't know where their stance is on, I don't know where their stance is on the whole, you know, Black Lives Matter movement. You know, I don't know where they're at with that. But I bet you that they were upset, you know, when they saw all the things that were going on and getting pushed in the media about how, you know, Jake, and in particular their own people, were being treated by police and legislation. I bet you they wanted to ride out then, but then here it is, you know, a situation is presented to them to be supportive and to go about it so-called the right way, right? Even though we know the process is wicked. And what did they do? They went and they destroyed that man. They murdered him. Okay, they murdered him. So we see these things in the world, man, and we're trying to separate ourselves further from the world. We're trying to separate ourselves further from the world, man. So you got to gain that level of understanding to not go and be a talebearer, a busybody. If someone's telling you and talking to you something, they might be in a vulnerable state, man. And that's why they came to you in the first goddamn place, man. Goddamn place. They came to you because they know you're a brother, man. The furthest thing from your mind should be to go and tell on them, man. And you know what? That is a character quality that is lacking even in the IUIC, because these motherfuckers, hey, you know, I'm kind of upset talking about it, but those guys, man, these guys, they record each other's phone calls and put that shit on the YouTube, man. Where's the edification in that? The scriptures, all of this, where was it where they went to the brother himself and, you know, discovered not a secret to another, man? And then, you know what I'm saying? Like, even when their councils came up, they televised all of that shit, man. You know why they did that? Is because they're not afraid. They have no humility. They're not afraid of, well, what if I'm wrong? Because that's something I don't really see them, they might say, but I don't see them walk on it. What if I'm wrong? I just put all this out there for all these people And, and the way they presented it was with the biggest ego. It wasn't ever, and I never I didn't personally hear it. I'm trying to remember back to watching those videos of the judgment with Judah Mack and all that stuff. But I don't remember hearing anyone saying, hey, brother, look, I hope that we're wrong in this whole situation, and that, Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai will correct any and everything that we got incorrect, and because we are men at the end of the day, and we will and are going to make mistakes. But the decision right now, this is the move that's going to be made. And look, if it's the wrong move, allow us the ability to correct it. Because a lot of times, that's how things go down. Is where you got to make a move and a judgment call, and you'll see it. Even, you'll see it here amongst ourselves, where a brother gets removed or put on the outside. But hey, sometimes that brother might come around, and you'll be like, damn, that brother did his thing. He held strong. Hey brother, if you want, you come on back, man. We were obviously wrong. I see integrity here within the brotherhood at Great Millstone, man. But I don't see it amongst these other groups. And they're doing, a lot of the stuff that they're getting caught up for and caught out with is crazy. Murder, you know what I'm saying? Theft of the church, like lawsuits, dudes getting, you know what I'm saying? Their whole regime is getting destroyed, man. And that all goes back to, first and foremost, not giving the Heavenly Father and His Son, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, the credit and the glory that they deserve. So, ask yourself, man, are you being wise enough and understanding enough to know when to shut the hell up? When a brother is talking and confiding in you, he doesn't need to and shouldn't have to say, hey, brother, don't, this is just kind of between us. He shouldn't have to say that, man. You should be wise enough. How old are you? You know what I'm saying? Like, let's put all this aside real quick. How the hell old are you, man? What are you, 23? 34? 42? 58? At what god dang age do you become wise enough to understand the information that's being presented to you, man? That's the problem. Jake will read, but Jake don't fucking read, man. Pardon my French. I get upset talking about stuff like this, man. Jake will read the scriptures, right? And this is the thing that happens. Early on, they read scriptures for cuts, because that's their only concern is offensive. Their only concern is playing an offense. How do I cut this? How do I cut that? I want to break this down so I can cut this. How do I break down this so when the Jehovah's Witnesses come, how do I cut? How do I cut? Hey ass, you ass, don't you know that the sword is used for defense too? Don't you know you're supposed to be equipped with the shield of faith too? A shield, think about that for a second. Let that sink in. Analyze that. Critique it. A shield of faith means that you're going to be defending things. What is faith? The substance of things not seen, the evidence of things hoped for. So your shield is invisible. It's not even there. Are you familiar with the Emperor's New Clothes? The story of the Emperor's New Clothes? If you're familiar with it, you know what I'm talking about. If not, go read a children's book or watch the little cartoon on it. Your shield essentially is the Emperor's New Clothes. It's not there, man. You're blocking with nothing, hoping that it gets blocked. See, a spiritual man will judge all things, yet he himself is judged of no man. That, I think, goes over a lot of brothers' heads sometimes too. because things aren't obvious. And that's what I mean by you got to read more. When you read, you're supposed to be pausing after a chapter or a couple paragraphs or even a couple sentences and thinking, do I understand what that means? Do I understand what's being said? How does this apply to me? What's going on? This is a very small book. It's short in comparison to Star Wars and Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter, the Chronicles of Amber. Okay, it's a small book, but it's deep, dark sayings. Deep. If something is deep and dark, does that mean I'll be able to explore that in no time? If I go into a cave and it's deep and it's dark, will I be done in an hour? I could physically just walk the floor of it, right? Or do a Jurassic Park probe and show me an X-ray scan of the ground beneath me. Does that mean I understand what the hell is actually going on? Is that giving me a read on every mineral down there? On every precious stone? On the way that the balance of life is coordinated amongst itself down there? How life is being preserved and populated? Am I getting a read on that, man? So, like, I know it's a bit of a rant, but this is all tied into understanding, man. And a lot of times, it's blown away. It's blown to the wayside. That the level of understanding that we need, at times we push it aside because we think that we got it based on one situation. Now, that one situation might be similar to what you're going through now or what a brother's going through. It's similar, but that doesn't mean it's the same exact judgment. Case in point, I was watching this video on this underground wire gauge. Now, this thing was, man, this thing was as thick as as the thickest part of your leg, your thigh. This wire was huge. Now, what this guy was doing was he was splicing it down. And it's so big, he's using a ruler to measure how far to cut back the sheathing on this and the sheathing on that. And I was like, damn, that's crazy. Because I've done a little bit of electrical, working on a home or a car, dealing with wiring, working on electronics. And I've had to strip wire to either resolder or just splice together, wire nut it, electrical tape it, heat shrink it, whatever, right? And that's a pretty, it's a pretty quick little operation. But when I saw, like, when you zoom into something and you explode it and expand it and make it bigger, that's what this was. And I was like, damn, the process is similar. But if we were any smaller compared to this little speaker wire, this is something that, like a measure we would have to take, because that power to us, that electricity and stuff, is so big. So the scales were just kind of moved, reversed, and swapped and changed. And I was just like, damn, that's crazy. I was just a little blown away by it. But I took it as an example, and I was like, man, I'm a very small amount. I'm a little familiar with what he's doing it and why he's doing it and what's going on. But seeing it this big, it kind of just, it brought a new perspective. But that doesn't mean it's the exact same. It's just similar. It's like when you see somebody that looks a certain way, and it's like, oh, that reminds me of this person, that person, my cousin. And so you naturally might like them or might hate them. That's not fair to that person. And that's not a good way to judge a situation. You know what I'm saying? So when someone's talking to you, I'm going back to the topic, don't worry. You're not supposed to discover a secret to another, man. And they, like I said, they shouldn't have to tell you, hey, man, this is between us. You should be able to figure that shit out. Be able to tell, oh, damn, this brother's telling me something that, all right, it's just me and him. When the hell is it just me and this man? Or even if it is always just you and that man, learn to keep your mouth closed, man. Stop revealing every goddamn thing. Set yourself apart from the world. Damn it. Everyone, a lot of talk about becoming a new creature, and very little action that's worthy to show and condone that. Very little work, man. Very little work behind that. So that's what I'm harping on, man. If a brother calls you and he's going through like a hard time, and he might be upset, he might be in tears, or he had to get something to drink or something, and when someone is, how can you not tell the difference when someone's vulnerable? You got kids. You were a child once. You saw your mother upset because your father and her were fighting, this, that, or the third. You were able to read on that shit. Did you go and tell all your friends at school like a dumbass? Someone did. I know a few kids that would talk about that shit. It's like, damn, man, keep that at home. I never talked about stuff like that. You got to learn how to separate what's acceptable to bring out into the public and what's not, man. Anyway, Salakia, here's a bit of a rant, but Proverbs 25:9, debate thy cause with thy neighbor himself, and discover not a secret to another. Gain a little bit of understanding. Okay, gain a little bit of understanding. Shalom.